Like, wow. Just wow. It's the 12th of June and it's fucking raining. Can you believe that? It's meant to be our summer. The sun's meant to be out, you know, but it's fucking raining. That's what they call typical British weather. When it's well, you could say kind of mid-June and it's fucking raining. Come on, man. I at least want a little bit of sun. I want to enjoy the sun a little bit. I want to go for my daily exercises and run in the sun, not be drenched by the rain and the cold. Like, that's British weather, to be honest. Like, overall, if you really think about it, how much sun do we get? Like, in a month, we'll have a couple of days worth of sun, and then the rest of the month, it'll be fully raining and cold as fuck. And that's talking about the summer months. You don't want to know about them winter months where it's 100% cold, snowing, pissing it down. It just pisses you off. But then again, there are some people that do like cold, that rainy, cold, gloomy ass weather where you can cozy up and sit inside and sit by the fire if you got a fire, sit by the radiator or whatever electric heater you got and just chill and watch whatever you want. But come on, it's lockdown. We've been doing that for the past 4 months. I'm about tired of sitting inside. I want to go outside and chill, even if it's on my own. Like, I don't mind. I just want to go outside and chill. But this weather, yeah, it just pisses you off because you can't do anything. Like, I want to go to the park, play about, have a football match, play some kind of sports, just chill there, lay on the grass and get a suntan. But this weather just kills you off, absolutely kills you off. Like, to be honest, like solely because of the British weather, I've always thought to myself, like, I wouldn't mind moving somewhere where it's a little bit more sunnier, like where the sun's out. Like, you have LA and you have Dubai as well, which are really, really popular destinations where all throughout the year the sun's always out, it's always hot. But it makes me think as well, like, if it's hot throughout the whole year and you never ever get a day where it's like cold, like, I mean proper cold. You might get like a day where it's a little bit windy and but like, I mean like proper cold, like it's ice cold and it's raining. Like, wouldn't you get tired of the sun just being there all year throughout? Like, in my eyes, you need a balance. You need a place that has a nice balance. Like, in the summer it's nice and hot, in the winter it's icy and cold, and in the spring you get that little mixture, you get that little twister, is what I like to call it. A little bit of sun, a little bit of cold, you get that little weather hitter. But it's mad. Like, that's what I'd want to do, like, move somewhere where it's nice, like you get a mixture of weather, so you get the sun, you get the cold. Not somewhere where it's always raining, i.e. the UK, or not somewhere where it's always hot, i.e. like Dubai. Like, I wouldn't mind going to Dubai for a holiday, but I don't think I'd be able to hack it, like being in the sun all the time. Like, I just can't imagine that. And especially the environment I'm coming from. Like, I'm based in the UK where it's always cold, and we call the sun here, like when the sun comes out, and when we think like it's really hot, is like maximum like 28, 29 degrees, and that's when everyone in the UK is out in the shorts, in the flip-flops, in their t-shirts. And even then, like, people are complaining like, oh, it's hot, it's hot, it's hot. But like, imagine in Dubai where the temperatures go up to 30, 35, even 40 degrees. Like, could you really hack it? That's what I say to myself. That's what stops me from actually moving out to any of these countries. Like, would I be able to hack all year throughout that kind of sun? Like, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a documentary, I'm trying to think of it. It was on Channel 4 called Billionaire Boy Racers. And so it was about people from Dubai who'd come over to the UK in summer, and the whole reason they came to the UK in summer was because they couldn't hack the heat back in Dubai, like near summertime, because when it's summer in Dubai, like boy, the temperatures go crazy. Like, I had one mate who used to live in Dubai, and he'd tell me that, when in summertime, like cars, they'd have to put them in underground garages or like in underground like parking lots, so like have a cover over them basically, because the sun was so hot that it physically melt car parts. So you'd see like bumpers and door panels melting off cars because that's how intense the heat was. So yeah, so back to the story. So Billionaire Boy Racers, it was like a little documentary that Channel 4 did, and it's all these like all these Arab millionaires and billionaires, like these princes, they'd come over for the summer to the UK. My main reason is, well, more specifically London. They'd bring all the supercars over, so like in summer you'd see all these Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Bugattis, all these exotic cars. Like they've been doing it for a long time, and a lot of people made a lot of made a lot of money from that by taking pictures and recording these supercars driving through London and then uploading them to the YouTube channels. They gained a lot of subscribers, and a lot of people started their channels like that. But the documentary was really good. I don't know if it's still on Channel 4, but I would say give it a watch. It just tells you about when they come over and what they do. They're just like chilling over in the summer in the UK because the heat's not as bad as it is in Dubai. So like they bring all the supercars over, drive up and down Knightsbridge. If you're not from London, Knightsbridge is, well, even if you're not from the UK, Knightsbridge is like a really rich area in parts of London. It's like a really high area, and they drive up and down there like 100 times and do laps around the buildings, go up, go back, shit like that. But it's really amazing. And there was this one guy, there's like this hotel owner, like he had a hotel, and you had a restaurant with it as well. And he was like, when it came down to summer, like when summer season started in London for that hotel, they'd change the whole menu. So it'd be like Middle Eastern food and halal food, because that would be the main, that would be like the majority of the people that would be coming to that hotel and eating. So it made more sense for them to change the whole menu to fit like a Middle Eastern palate, so they could make money from it, which is really smart businessing, to be honest. Like they changed the whole menu because they knew a lot of people would be coming down in summer and they would be spending a lot of money, because in essence it's like a holiday. Like normally when you go on a holiday, like me personally, when I go on a holiday, I tend to spend a lot of money, like a lot, like normally that you wouldn't spend. And then you take it with like these Middle Eastern millionaires and princes and billionaires as well, and they're not going on a holiday, they're not coming over here for like a week. They come over here for like a month or 2 months, because they want to spend the whole summer in the UK just to avoid the harsh heat in Dubai and the Arab Emirates, the UAE. So and plus they've got money as well, so they spend a lot of money as well. But it's a really interesting watch, like to see how people from different countries would actually prefer to come over to the UK just for the weather. It's really interesting as well. So what's been happening this week? Well, a lot of shit. As I said on my last podcast, there was a lot of riots and protests in regards to George Floyd's death, not just in America, all around the world. And something that really big that happened in the UK was the pulling down of statues. Statues of basically, what do you call them? Like, you could say prominent men in the UK. Like these guys, they had statues built of them, and they were like in town squares. And like these guys were like, you could say they started an economy in the UK. They helped the economy get off the ground, this and that. They contributed in one way or another. But certain statues, like certain people who those statues were made of, they weren't all good. Like they were slave traders as well. And with this Black Lives Matter protest that happened in London, like one of those got pulled down. It was in Bristol. So it was a statue of the guy. I can't remember his name, but I'm sure if you search for it, you'll be able to find it. And like they had this big protest, and tied a rope around the statue, pulled it down, and they dumped it in the canal. And like there was a big celebration, and then there was a lot of opposing sides coming from the opposite side, like a lot of people, a lot of people who were against it as well, saying, why did you pull it down? It's part of British history, this and that. But at the end of the day, you can't really have that, can you? Just because someone contributed to a certain extent to the UK doesn't forgive them for their past sins. Like this guy who the statue was of in Bristol, like he was a slave trader, like he profited a lot of, like he made a lot of money off slave trading. And I was actually glad that they pulled that statue down and they got rid of it. And then it came out a few days ago that the council, they got all these like truck lifts and everything, and they got that statue and they pulled it out the canal river, and now it's in like some place it's protected as well. And that was really a popular thing. A lot of these, like a lot of people that are for these protests, like they were saying that there's a number of statues all around the UK that need to be pulled down because what they represent is not what we should be representing right now. Like I said, just because they did something in the past that benefited the UK or the world, it doesn't forgive their past deeds. They still did fucked up things. And if you're doing fucked up things like to such an extent where you were like a slave trader, you were making a lot of money off other people's lives and making other people miserable and, killing them and, destroying families, then fair enough. You shouldn't have a statue anywhere. You should get all those statues and fuck them up, crush them up into a big ass ball and dump them somewhere, like throw them away. And they should be replaced by some other ones. There's a lot of historians out there, a lot of people in history that did good deeds and, stood for something. And I'm sure that you wouldn't be stuck in a place to find someone to replace the statues with. It just takes a little bit of thinking, but it's good that it got pulled down. And with that as well, there was there's meant to be like a protest in London on Saturday. So today is the 12th of June, Friday, and on Saturday, the 13th of June, there's going to be like a protest. Now, there was like this big, because those statues got pulled down, like there was a lot of far right people that were upset with that, and so they've tried to like arrange this whole protest in London to basically go down there and say, you shouldn't be touching our history and you shouldn't be doing this, that. And to counter that, all this Black Lives Matter protests are going to go down as well. Apparently they were saying it's being called off, but still, there'll still probably be people going down there. What I would say on that matter is, just stick to yourself. Don't engage with, right-wing people, no matter how much abuse they throw at you. Because at the end of the day, you got to think of the way that the media is going to portray you. Like, do you really want your protest to stand for something wrong? Like, say if any of these right-wing protesters start something and then you retaliate and then it escalates, it'll just put a bad image on everything. And that's not me saying that you shouldn't do anything. If you are going down on Saturday, do your thing. And if any right-wing protester does bring it, does start it, you have every right to defend yourself. And that's what you should do. Just defend yourself. Don't initiate anything, but defend yourself. And that's the best way. But enough of that. Let's talk a little bit about UFC. A lot of shit's been happening in UFC. So we've had quite a few big names in the UFC like announce a few things via Twitter mostly, because that seems to be the place where everyone breaks any kind of news. The first one was Conor McGregor. He said he's retiring again, and I think this makes it his third time that he's actually announced that he's retiring. Like the other two times he announced that he was retiring and then he just came back and fought again. A lot of people don't believe he's retiring. They think it's bullshit. It's just a ploy to get his name in the media outlets and get people to talk about him. When he came out, when he had a fight with, after his second retirement, when he came back, he had a fight with Donald Cerrone. It was an impressive fight as well. He won in the first round, like in the first couple of minutes, and then after that he was like he wanted to fight 3 times this year, and now we're sat in June, middle of the year, and he's only fought once. So that says it all. And to be honest, in my opinion, I think he's just frustrated because of the whole coronavirus. Everything got put on lockdown, and then all these events got cancelled. UFC, football, boxing, everything got cancelled, got put on hold, and then UFC opened up again, and then they were doing like only selected fights. And then I think he just got to a point where he's frustrated and he thought, fuck it, I'm gonna announce my retirement. It's gonna get people talking about me, and then it's gonna put some kind of pressure on Dana White, the UFC, to basically get me a fight where I can be in a position to actually start fighting again. So that's pretty interesting. I can't wait for that. See how that develops and see what happens in regards to that. And then another big thing was of George as well. George Masvidal. I've probably fucked that up. I'm just gonna call him the Street Jesus. What was it? The 3-piece and chicken and sides, or the 2-piece and sides? But our very own George, he also had a back and forth with UFC as well. It came over payments, so they offered him the Kamaru Usman fight, the title fight. However, it came out that he wasn't getting offered as much money as he did for the Diaz fight, and so his whole thing was, how come I'm having a title fight but I'm getting paid less than my last fight? And so he had a back and forth with, well, it wasn't directly, but he had a lot of things to say over Twitter. And then a lot of Dana White would hold these UFC events, and then after they've held them, they have like the post-interview events, and a lot of reporters would ask Dana, what's going on with George and what's going to happen, and he'd just come back with, at the end of the day, if he wants to fight, he can fight, and if he wants to retire, he can retire. But George does have a point, because in my eyes, like, a lot of UFC fighters, they've, like, the majority of them, they've come out with, if they have had any issues with UFC, the majority of those issues have been towards the pay. Like, they've always said they're not getting paid enough. Not just George, you had John Jones as well. He came out as well, and he was like, he asked for a certain amount from the UFC, and they just shut him down. They were like, no, we're not going to pay you that much. And so even he was like, I'm not going to fight anymore, and I don't want to fight. And then someone asked Dana White about that as well, and Dana White was like, yeah, fair enough, if he doesn't want to fight, he doesn't want to fight. But the one fucked up thing is, like, and this is what Dana White should understand as well, like, George and John Jones, like, they're saying they don't want to fight, but you need to give him a chance to go and fight for another, like, fight promotion, if you get what I'm saying. Because at the end of the day, it's all fair if Dana White's saying, you don't have to fight and you can stop fighting, but these guys have signed contracts with you, Dana. So if you don't release them from their contracts, they can't go and fight for someone else. They can't make money in the fight business. They might have other businesses in place, but the main bread and butter is fighting and making prize money. And the fact that they have contracts with the UFC, which prohibit them from fighting for any other fight promotion, they can't do anything else. So if if Dana White really thinks, like, if they're unhappy with the pay, they should do what they want, then what Dana White should do is release them from the contracts. Dana White came out with, that George and John Jones, they both had like 7-8 fight contracts. Release them. Go up to them, ask them, like, have a meeting with them, say to them, listen, do you want to fight for the UFC? If you do, we're going to pay you this much, and if you don't, here's your contract. I'll basically sign it off, I'll release you from the contract, and you're going to fight from someone else. And if he did that, I guarantee you a lot of fighters would agree to those conditions and go and fight for another promotion. But he's playing it smart, to be honest. Like, at the end of the day, the UFC is a business, and Dana White's got to play it smart as he can. So he's got to get these fighters locked down. So he's got to get the fighters to sign these like 5, 6, or 7 or 8, God knows how many fight contracts. So he's got like he's got enough time to put fights on for the foreseeable future. if he turned around and said, yeah, fair enough, if you don't want to fight, I'll cancel your contract, a lot of these fighters would leave, and then he'd be left with no business unless he offered more money. Which, to be honest, like, fighting is one of the hardest things to do, and they do it all for our entertainment as well. You know, the least you can do is offer them a decent amount of money where they're making it, they're actually happy with it, they're comfortable with it. You know, and I'm not saying everyone in the UFC should get paid a lot of money. Like, there should be stages where you build it up. You know, so if you're starting newly, if you're a new starter, you make a certain amount of money, and then as you work your way up, you get more popular, you have these title fights, you get much more money. Well, much more money than what they're actually getting paid now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with, you know, with George and John Jones. Will they come back to the UFC? You know, will Dana just leave it as it is and let him wait it out? We'll see what happens. And another thing as well was, which I was a little bit excited about, was a PS5 reveal that came out. Yeah, no, it sounds like I'm a big nerd, doesn't it? But yeah, the PS5 got announced, and let's just say it looks interesting. Like, there's a lot of funny ass memes that were going around on the internet about it, because I don't know if anybody's seen the shape of it. It looks like a Wi-Fi router. Imagine if you had a Wi-Fi router stood up and you got two pieces of A4 paper and you put them on the side of the Wi-Fi router. That's what it exactly looks like. And so there's a lot of funny shit going on about that. They announced a few games that are going to come out with the PS5. The most excited one, the most one that I'm looking forward to is a Spider-Man game, Spider-Man 2. I played the first one on PlayStation 4. That was really good, really well made game. But I can't wait for the second one. But I don't think they've said a price point as of yet. But I can't imagine it being cheap. Probably be around £400-500, which is expensive as fuck if you think about it. Just for a game console, £400-500. But it's definitely something to look forward to. And you know what performance it comes with, what next gen games it comes with as well. But I hope, like, the controller looks nice. I'll give it that. Like, the whole, to be honest, the PS5 console, it's not bad looking. It just looks a little bit funny, but it still looks kind of sleek and you know, like, good. I wonder, like, you know, with when you do buy a PS5 or any console, they only come with one controller. That's a fucked up thing. And then when you want to buy a second controller, it's like £50-60 just for one. So they make a lot of money on you from selling shit like that. Hopefully they give you much more accessories in the box that it comes with. That'd be good. But I can't wait to see what kind of games come out with it as well when it gets released. Something definitely to look forward to. And also I was just on YouTube, and it's kind of new as well. Like, Dave Chappelle got a new comedy out. Like, it's on YouTube. I wouldn't call it a comedy because he was talking about, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement and what happened with George Floyd and everything. But it's called Dave Chappelle 846, and the 846 represents how long the officer's knee was on George Floyd's neck for him when he passed away. But it's a really interesting watch. Like, it's not funny, but he does spit a lot of facts, you know, about the history of police crime on the African American community. And it's not just like it's not just George Floyd's death that's spurred this on. Like, in the past, there's been a lot of instances where police brutality has carried a certain amount of consequences for it. I would definitely give it a watch if I was you. You know, if you're into that kind of stuff, it's definitely an interesting watch. It's called Dave Chappelle 846. It's got some really good stories in there, so, you know, give it a nice little watch. But that's it from me, guys. This weather is shit, isn't it? Anyway, guys, so hope you enjoyed the podcast. And if you're on Twitter, follow me, Talking with F1. If you're on Instagram, follow me at Talking with F. Subscribe to me on, on Spotify, or if you're on Apple Podcasts, subscribe to me. And I'll see you guys next week.